It was such a lovely man as well. He really was. So that one is on the way. Christiane Amanpour, I did 2 yesterday. I almost like having a proper job. That was an incredible conversation about a lot of the political toing and froing at the moment, and there are more of which I shall bring you up to speed shortly, because we're going to go crashing through that 10 million mark. Speaking of political shenanigans, I don't know whether I care or not. I mean, maybe I do. For the good of our country, Nigel Farage must never be Prime Minister. Who said that earlier today? Was it A, Keir Starmer? Was it B, Kemi Badenoch? Or was it C, former Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe? Henry Riley's here to tell us the answer.
It could have been any, couldn't it? But no, it was Rupert Lowe, James, who, of course, was one of the 5 elected Reform UK MPs back at last year's election. He's the MP for Great Yarmouth. And then a couple of months ago, there was this big sort of bust-up with the leadership of the party. Now we have from the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, that they have reviewed the evidence in sort of light of some threats that were made, or that Reform UK said were made against their chairman, Zia Yusuf, and they have concluded they will not be pursuing criminal charges. Now, there were 2 parts of this, James, if you cast your mind back.
Must I?
Yes, well, let me help you.
Thank you.
So firstly, Reform UK said that Rupert Lowe had made effectively threats, very serious threats against Zia Yusuf. What we have here is the CPS saying that with relation to this, no criminal charges should be brought. But there is a second part of this, which is not involving involving law enforcement. The parliamentary watchdog are also looking into allegations of bullying. So Rupert Lowe today can certainly clearly hear, and he's making that point in a very lengthy statement, saying that there has been no evidence of criminality and that he's claiming victory. But there is, of course, this parliamentary probe going on. And the statement, James, you took one line of it earlier on. Nigel Farage must never be Prime Minister. I mean,
for the good of our country, Henry.
For the good of our country. And it's scathing. I mean, one other part here, he says, with real power, I fear he would wield a immense responsibility to crush dissent. He said at one point as well, he is a coward and a viper. He's ashamed to have called them friends. Nigel Farage is no leader. I'm ashamed to have shared a parliamentary platform with them. But where perhaps you might slightly differ with him, James, is he's saying that he has been... all of this is because of his frank rhetoric and standing firm on wanting to deport illegal immigrants. But
he also gave an interview to the Daily Mail in which he was critical of the leader, didn't he, of Farage? That seemed to be the starting point for a lot of this.
Yeah, and that's certainly the context here. Reform say that actually they'd made this decision before, but there was a suggestion that this might have perhaps sped it up. He actually said at one point, he compared Nigel Farage to a messiah, I think, effectively, and said that perhaps for the good of the party...
Messiah. He's a very naughty
boy.
You have to say that. It's a rule on the radio. It's a rule. If you don't say that, you get thrown out of the studio. Carry on, Henry.
Well, and of course, the added context to this at the time, James, as you'll remember, is you had Elon Musk sort of noises off about Nigel Farage as well, and thinking that Rupert Lowe could be a better leader. So, in a nutshell, it's not quite finished because we still have the parliamentary probe into allegations of bullying against 2 female members of staff, but on the threats against Zia Yusuf, the party chairman, the Crown Prosecution Service have found there will be no criminal charges brought.
Any comment from him? I mean, this doesn't necessarily make him a liar, but it certainly makes his allegations look a lot weaker.
I've actually heard nothing from Zia Yusuf so far.
Okay.
Quickly check my phone, see if he's
wow,
puts anything out on social media.
Live.
This is live.
This is live in the studio. Henry Riley checking his phone.
Yes, but as far as I'm aware, Reform UK have not put out a statement, and no, they have not.
There is some pretty strong stuff there. Smearing my innocent staff in a pathetic attempt to attack me was disgusting, alongside briefings to journalists from senior Reform figures suggesting I had dementia. The lowest, vilest tactics I have seen in my 67 years. They are not fit to lead. They are not fit to be MPs. I mean, he attacks all of them, not just the leader. Is there any case for wondering why he didn't notice any of this before he stood for Parliament under the Reform UK banner?
Well, what's interesting is...
I mean, a lot of people could have told him.
Well, what's interesting with Rupert Lowe is, I mean, it's not like he's sort of new to the party in the sense that he was a Brexit Party MEP, if you cast your mind back, with Nigel Farage.
I had managed to forget that, Henry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm thank you for the reminder.
Bad memories.
So he's been on the ticket for years.
He's been on the ticket for years.
He's known Farage for years.
He's known Nigel Farage for years. Richard Tice, of course, was an MEP at the same time. time Anne Widdecombe was. So he knows these sorts of same figures. Perhaps he didn't know Zia Yusuf, who wasn't involved with the party at the time. But he's obviously had a career in football as well. He was the chairman of Southampton. So he's newish to politics, but nonetheless, he's been around a while. And James, I know one of your favourite subjects are these new political parties that might pop up.
Oh, another one.
There is a strong hint here, I think.
Excellent.
He says, you'll be hearing a lot more from me very soon. There had been all sorts of sort of allegations, or not even allegations, there'd be all sorts of sort of musings that he may well start a new political party. If I was to put money on it, I suggest that may well be the case.
What would he call it? Is the one that was set up by the lad from Lewis who wasn't Lewis, is that free now, is it, or is that still going?
It's still registered.
It is. Oh, so we can't, what was that one called?
Reclaim
So
Party.
he can't have Reclaim, he can't have Reform. Could he have Revive?
Well, the one potential
Reverb.
option...
Reverb's got a nice... Speaking of Reverb, so carry on.
Yeah, I know you're going with that. but lastly, on the politics, what was quite interesting, I covered the Runcorn and Helsby by-election, and the English Democrat candidate, Catherine Blakelock, founded Reform UK with Nigel Farage and then was kicked out. But there was some suggestion Rupert Lowe was sort of, although he denies it, he was going to support the English Democrats. So he could well latch onto them, or he could start a new party.
And there is beef there between the woman who founded Reform UK and the man who currently leads it.
Yes, absolutely. And they've fallen out, and they claim it was over anti-Islam tweets from Reform UK, but she points out that other people have not been suspended for saying remarks that perhaps similar.
I mean, his party management makes Jeremy Corbyn look like Mao Zedong, doesn't it? But no, won't touch the sides of the people minded most to support him. Now, speaking of Reverb, who did you bump into on the tube this morning?
Well, it was actually yesterday, but this is big news for me.
Yes.
I was on the Piccadilly line and I bumped into Mike Rutherford of
Genesis and Mike and the Mechanics.
Yes, Genesis, and it was a
Were you looking back over your shoulder on the platform?
Do you know, I put it out on social media and everyone said I should have made that joke, and it was staring me in the face, and I didn't. But
I don't know if he would have appreciated it.
But I did say to you this morning, there's sort of handful of people, probably you and my dad, who would have appreciated how much this, because I've spoken to you a lot about Genesis, how much this would have meant. But it was a very nice moment, actually.
It was lovely to see your joy, your undiluted joy, and I suspect Mike Rutherford was probably delighted that such a young whippersnapper was so knowledgeable and enthusiastic about his band and meeting him.
And he asked me a lot of questions. I did say to you that he was sort of saying, what gigs have you seen? But I said to you before, I'd noticed him about 4 or 5 stops before by the time I got to Knightsbridge. And so I thought, I'm not going to say anything yet, because the worst thing is a sort of awkward 5 minutes between us.
It can be awkward, yes, in those sort of scenarios. Thank